Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special mini episode of Base Hit Ball 4, 2/4 of the Base Hit Ball 4 podcast with us. My name is Glen and Scott alongside Scott Roswald. Scott, we did not text each other what shirt to wear before the episode started. We're wearing the exact same thing. I don't know if we should start over and change because it's a little embarrassing, but I'm down to roll with it if you are.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm wearing my intramural softball championship shirt.
Oh, I have that. I'd
Uh,
somewhere. I lost it
so
like a couple years ago, but yeah. But we
yeah,
were rocking
we,
the North Carolina blue today.
we look great. It's a great
We're
color.
looking good. So we decided to have this mini emergency kind of podcast as we're trying to figure out our schedules and when to get back on track for the real thing. Because everyone's working now, everyone has jobs, and the pandemic's coming to an end, so it's going to be a little tougher to schedule things. But we thought it was very important to get on and talk because of all the stuff that's been happening, specifically all the no hitters that have been happening throughout Major League Baseball over the first 2 months of the baseball season. So there was two no hitters last year in the 60 game season, and we've blown past that already in the 2 months in 2021. We have seven, including the one that doesn't count, or eight, including the one that doesn't count. So we have Musgrove, Rodon, Means, Miley, Turnbull, and Kluber from the Yankees last night. We have Madison Bumgarner in a 7 inning game. I think the last episode we had, Scott, we had an argument, you and me versus Cash, over whether or not it should count.
Yeah,
There's a lot of different kind of ways to go here, as my laptop is now going to beep for forever now. And we're going to power through because it's fine. So there's many different ways to look at all these no hitters that are happening. There's, the positive spin on it. Well, this is great. It's bringing attention to baseball. It's something that doesn't happen all the time. And it's really showing the greatness of these athletes. And what I really find interesting about these no hitters, it's not DeGrom, it's not Cole, it's not Nola, it's not Walker Bueller, it's not Trevor Bauer, it's not those guys that are throwing the no hitters. It's really the finesse guys, the Mileys, the Klubers, the Turnbulls, who led the major leagues in losses in 2019 with 17. It's John Means, who does it primarily with a changeup. So it's not the stars that are doing it. It's really giving some notifications to, some of the other guys around Major League Baseball that can pitch. And then you can look at the negative spin where you can talk about, the lack of offense that we've seen from Major League Baseball over the course of this early season. So as someone who loves baseball and likes to take the positive out of the league, I think that, the first thing that should be talked about is how great these pitchers are. But, the more that this happens and the more that even if it's not a no hitter, if it's someone that brings it into the seventh or the eighth, this seems to happen on a nightly basis. That is concerning in terms of an offensive standpoint when looking at the game and what the kids and what the younger people and the demographic wants to see. So what do you think? Do you think this is more of a good thing for Major League Baseball or a bad thing for Major League Baseball?
yeah. So I'm actually kind of on the opposite side as you here. With the volume of it, I do think it's kind of bad. I more or less think it's the hitter's fault. You can't blame
Mhm.
the pitchers. Um, there's just too much emphasis on trying to hit home runs and launch angle and exit velocity, and these guys aren't going up there trying to just make contact and put a ball in play and make things happen. Um, I don't want to take anything away from these guys because some of these pitching performances have been phenomenal. Kluber was amazing last night for a guy who
Mhm.
hasn't pitched significant innings since 2019. For him to go out there and do that is excellent. Spencer Turnbull is a guy, as you mentioned, led the league in losses a couple years ago. Just flat out dominated the Mariners. John Means was great against the Mariners as well. Musgrove and Rodon, we talked about them earlier in the year. They're great stories, but I do kind of think it's concerning, like, because you want action, you want things to be going on during the game, you want ball and play, and I don't know. It is concerning to me that there's this many this early in the year.
I mean, it's good that these no hitters are happening because, it's something to watch, right? But at the same time, I tweeted this actually, ironically enough, 2 nights ago after Turnbull's no hitter and before Kluber's no hitter. I tweeted that, I don't really care about no hitters anymore because when I got the notification that Turnbull was throwing a no hitter, sixth, seventh, eighth inning, it was a West Coast game. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, you know what? I've seen enough this year. I don't need to turn. I'm not going to turn it on. And obviously, 24 hours later, that changed because Kluber, is my guy. He's a guy on my team, so obviously I was invested in it. But you couldn't. There's some people making the argument, and they can make a very good argument that the accomplishment of a no hitter now is kind of getting diminished in a way, which is I think is wild because a no hitter is a no hitter, so it's very very hard to do. But there's a lot of them are happening. And you don't want the no hitter if you're baseball to turn into what the triple double has become in the NBA. In the NBA, the triple double used to be this, once a season crazy accomplishment that only the best of the best can accomplish. But now, if Russell Wilson doesn't have a triple double in a game, it's almost like a disappointment. Like, what's wrong with him? He does it that much, and it happens that much. Like LeBron James in the playing game yesterday, 75% of the game wasn't really that great, but still ended up with a triple double. So you don't want the no hitter to turn into kind of a forgotten accomplishment like the triple double. Maybe in the NFL, like throwing for 4,000 yards isn't what it was 30 years ago than what it is now. So it comes down to the fact that offensive approaches are not good. These pitchers are too damn good and their stuff is too nasty that it's almost impossible to hit, even if you have a good approach, let alone swinging for the fences every time. And obviously, the shifts have been a big factor in the lack of offense. And let's be honest, 2 years ago, we were all complaining that there was too many home runs. They juiced the ball or whatever. Now they changed the ball back to what it originally was, and it's been worse. The game's been worse. They thought that taking away the home runs would add doubles in the gap and more chances in the field and more base running first to third, first to home. But it's just been added to more strikeouts because the pitchers can move the ball so much more than they were used to. So it's kind of a catch 22 for Major League Baseball. What do you want? Do you want what you're getting in 2021 with these no hitters every week and just historically low batting averages across Major League Baseball? Or do you want what you want in 2019 when everyone's hitting home runs and games are very long in terms of time, but a lot of runs are being scored? So what's better in terms of what for the future of Major League Baseball? What's the better game?
Yeah, and Major League Baseball kind of put themselves in this spot because they want the shorter games, but they want more action too. But you can't have that when you're taking away the offense and making it all about pitchers. I'd much rather see home runs on like I'd rather see that. I personally, that's what I'd rather see, and sprinkle a no hitter in here every once in a while. Like I think it's much more impressive when the offenses are dominant and then a guy comes in there and shuts somebody down. But when the Mariners as a team are hitting under 200, like what do you freaking do? You threw a no hitter against a team that can't even hit over 200. Like it is, and I loved your analogy of the triple double of it, like it means nothing anymore, and like you shouldn't want that for a great accomplishment like these guys are having. I don't know. I personally, I'd rather the Major League Baseball say we want more runs, we want more action in the field. I don't know. I think they've put themselves in this spot like they typically do. They dig their own graves and they have to get themselves out of it, and seems to be a pattern.
It seems like they tried to overcompensate the home runs of 2019, so they went to the far extreme the other side. They were
Yeah.
like far extreme one side, and then they changed it now 2 years later to the far extreme on the other side. So there has to be some way to get in the middle of what these last 2 years have been, or last 3 years, and if you don't count the pandemic shortened season. But I think you have to be able to do this if you're Major League Baseball. We can't keep fucking with the baseballs. You can't keep winding them up or loosening them up. There has to be different ways to integrate offense into Major League Baseball and still have these pitchers pitch well and be as good as they are, because everyone loves to see what DeGrom and what Cole and what Bauer can do. Or Otani now that he's finally healthy. So electronic strike zones shortening the mound, pushing the rubber back, maybe even chopping off half of the strike zone, because these pitchers today, this is what we didn't see this 15 years ago. Pitchers today are living high in the zone with the fastball. When we were taught to play baseball, Scott, I don't know if you were taught the same thing, but when we were taught to pitch, it was to keep the ball low.
Yep.
Right.
Get the ball down.
Keep the ball low, get ground balls. Now it's a completely different. It's turned on its head. You're being taught to get the fastball up in the zone, create lift if you can, and go for the strikeout. And that's really making the game boring. They call it the 3 true outcomes: the strikeout, the walk, the home run. And there's no action, and that's not an entertaining product to consume if you're a fan.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I think one of the first things that Major League Baseball can do is limit shifts and how many guys you can put on one side of the field, how often you can I think that
every other sport has an illegal defense except
like that should be something that they should look at. I mean, a long time ago they lowered the mound down
1968,
and that changed the game. They're experimenting in the Atlantic League with moving the mound back. I don't love that. I don't think that's great because you got to then teach all these guys how to pitch again from it. I mean, it's a foot of a distance, but that's a huge difference. You got to kind of readjust. So I think it's you banning the shift or limiting the shift. I think that that creates a lot more offense. Could you imagine now if Tony Gwynn was up there and some team decided to shift on him, he would laugh.
Yeah.
Tony Gwynn would gladly take that slap to the left side of the field and take a single and get on base so his teammates can then do something. Guys don't take pride in that. They just want to hit a home run. They want to look cool. They want great home runs are awesome. And it shows that you're really good. But so does just hitting a ball the other way, getting on base and making something happen. And it's just not there. We've seen stolen bases go down. That's, a product of analytics, but that's an exciting play is a stolen base. That's a good play for your team. I don't know.
Hit and runs are obsolete at this point. I don't think an 8-year-old even knows what a hit and run is anymore.
Probably not. And it's sad because that's how we all grew up playing baseball. That's how that's what we watch. That's what we're used to. Yeah, they got to figure it out because we don't want these guys. We don't want to be sitting here saying, oh, Wade Miley, oh, you didn't really achieve anything. That's commonplace. That's a great moment for a guy who's kind of been a journeyman of a pitcher, and to go out there and do that was great. And we shouldn't be, trying to take that away from him.
And, it's weird because the game has been consumed by analytics, right? So they're looking at the strikeout and they're equating it to being the same thing as a fly out or a ground out. It still equals 1 out. And their argument against what we're kind of preaching of getting back to the old days of, 15, 20 years ago, when you have a 2-strike approach, you choke up, you go the other way. I don't know how much you saw of the Yankees Rangers series this week, other than the no-hitter, but the Yankees grounded into an absurd amount of double plays, an embarrassing amount of double plays. I think it was 10 in a 4-game series, and it killed every single inning, basically. They ended up winning 3 of 4 because the Rangers are that bad, but, against good teams, that's going to kill you. That's going to kill you in October as well. So the analytical people are going to argue, wouldn't you rather Miguel Andujar with first and second and nobody out just strike out instead of bouncing into a 4-6-3 and then you got a runner on third, but you have 2 outs and then you have 1 more out to get if you're on the mound and you're out of it with no runs. So now strikeouts are almost good because you're not bouncing into a double play. You see what I'm trying to say? How it's completely been turned on its head, and how double plays, you used to be embarrassed. Remember, we were in Little League, we'd strike out. We were embarrassed. It was horrible.
Never wanted to strike out.
The worst feeling in the world was to strike out. Now it's almost like a relief when you see a strikeout because, oh my God, at least it's not a double play.
Yeah, and that's where analytics are wrong, and that's where you got to have a sense for the game and understand what's going on. Because yeah, like, all right, great. You put the ball in play, like something could happen. That shortstop can boot the ball, and now you got runners on first and second, or that runner on first, takes advantage of that and gets the third.
The
Like,
analytic people are going to be like, well, how often does that happen? Statistically, they're not going to make the error.
yeah, but like it's still gonna happen. You're
Still could
human.
happen.
It's baseball. Like you never know what's gonna happen. It's
Mhm.
it's a weird game like that where anything can happen at any moment. Um, yeah, I don't. You're right. People don't fear striking out anymore. There's not like a consequence to it. The only time I ever got ejected from playing baseball was because I struck out 4 times in a game and I threw my helmet in the dugout and the umpire threw me
Mhm.
out. I was mad at myself. I wasn't mad at the umpire. I was mad at myself for striking out.
Yeah.
Like you never wanted to do that. I would have much rather put the ball in play and let something happen and make the other team do something than swing at 3 pitches or look at 3 pitches and go sit down and then have to go play the field. I don't know. It's just the way I think about it. I think that's how it should be looked at, but it's not. And the robots run the game. And
Yeah. And you got to wonder, like, I've been thinking this recently, because this has been a very hot button issue over the last couple weeks, not just, the last couple days, but, things come and go, right? So there's trends that happen. So I'm thinking that one day baseball will return to the way things were as, people adjust and then readjust and then adjust to the adjustments that the opponent's making. It wasn't that long ago that the Royals won the World Series against the Mets because they just never struck out. Like that was the reason they won the World Series. Now you're getting teams like the Dodgers last year that won the World Series basically just by outslugging everybody. That's what the Rays did to win the pennant as well. So you got to think that maybe 5 years from now, who knows, maybe we're back to the Kansas City Royals 2015 brand of baseball. But right now, it's kind of in a transitional period where this is the way baseball is going to look right now, and the diehards will stay with it. But maybe the younger demographic is we're gonna miss. I don't know, but baseball is not suffering. You see the ratings for Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN is very, very good. The MLB TV ratings are through the roof. So it's weird that we're getting a worse brand of baseball in terms of, I guess, action and offense, but getting very, very good ratings, streaming wise and on the networks. I'm not sure why that is, but I definitely think that, you can change all the rules you want. You can make the mound flat if you want. You can cut the home plate in half. You can do all these things. It's going to start at the youth level to change this. You got to teach them from 8 years old up through the high school ranks that you got to have 2-strike approaches. You got to know how to take an extra base. You got to know how to bunt. You got to know how to hit and run. You got to know how to shorten up and slap the ball the other way. I mean, that's just at the end of the day, that's what's going to change Major League Baseball, because by the time these kids get to that level, that's the way they're going to play.
yeah, I agree. It's a hard thing to do and it's a hard thing to accomplish, but what the kids see is it's what they're gonna do and that's what they're gonna emulate. Like, everyone
They're
says,
watching Aaron Judge and Bryce Harper and all these guys just take hacks no
yeah,
matter what the count is. Their 3-0 swing is the same thing as their 0-2 swing. We've been taught that that's not the right thing to do, but that's what these kids are now being taught is the right thing to do. So it's just a different game.
yeah, and it's just funny because like you look at a guy like Freddie Freeman who won the NL MVP last year. He is a guy that chokes up and he changes his approach depending on the situation. He'll go the other way. He'll put balls in play. So like it's not like it's this anomaly thing that you can't be successful doing this.
There's
Like,
people that do it. I
yeah,
mean, as you said, Freddie Freeman does it.
Joey
Guys that are
Votto had
now,
a
Joey
great year
Votto does
doing
it.
it. Anthony Rizzo's had a good career doing it. Like,
Mike Trout does it. He's the
yeah,
best.
exactly.
Mookie Betts does it.
Yeah,
They're not all home run or nothing.
it it,
Yeah.
it's just it can be successful doing it.
Mhm.
It's not like you can't. Hell, Barry Bonds did it. Barry Bonds choked up on his bat all the time. Yes, he took steroids and he cheated, but he had that approach his entire career. And you still have to hit a baseball to be good. So
I saw a funny tweet. Somebody tweeted out a picture of an old Daily News clipping, the newspaper in New York from the 50s, like criticizing Mickey Mantle because he his bunting that season wasn't good. Like Aaron Judge would never. I don't think Aaron Judge is squared to bunt in his 5-year career. And Mickey Mantle was a guy in the 50s. He would bunt.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Judge
just
probably doesn't
different.
know how to bunt. He
I
probably
don't think
couldn't.
Judge has ever in his life bunted. I don't think that's probably why too, because these guys in the major leagues, even like the bottom tier kind of bench player guy, when they were in high school, they were the man. They were the best in their region, and they probably never bunted. So these great athletes that are major league quality, when they were younger, they weren't asked to bunt because they were asked to hit the home runs, and that's what we've gotten now. We don't have a lot of 5-tool guys. There's like one Acuna and there's one Trout, and there's not a lot of guys that complement that.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Some guy that is complimenting everything, a guy that I guess I was wrong about, whatever, is Shohei Ohtani. Now, Shohei Ohtani is really interesting because I don't remember a baseball player, Scott. I don't know if you can correct me. I haven't seen a baseball player get recognition from stars from other leagues. Kevin Durant talks about Shohei Ohtani. JJ Watt talks about Shohei Ohtani. I don't remember another baseball player getting that kind of love. I don't remember Trout ever getting this kind of love. I don't remember Judge in his 2017 rookie year. Mookie Betts, Kershaw, all the greats that have come through the league. Maybe Jeter at the end because everyone was just like, giving him his goodbye tributes.
Yeah, and that was different.
But that was different. But like in his prime, based on performance, I don't remember guys from other leagues talking about a baseball player the way Shohei Ohtani gets talked about in the, I guess, sports athletic community.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing for Major League Baseball. That Kevin Durant and JJ Watt are acknowledging his excellence.
They're not just scrubs in their sport; they're top of the line, future Hall of Fame guys in their sport.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think it's another good thing that it's an international player as well to be able to market that, to the Japanese and to the Asian markets. And I mean, Acuna doesn't get the love outside of the game, but another international star that they can market to the Latin American community. But Shohei Ohtani is incredible. I know his health is obviously it's been an issue, but what he's doing at the plate right now is phenomenal. And he wasn't the most popular player with this group of people, yourself, Ty, and Cash.
Well, I think spurned the Yankees in free
agency. I think that's part of it.
And then I still contend that Andujar deserved the Rookie of the Year over him. But other than that, he's been great.
What he can do is incredible, and the fact that he can go out there and throw 102 miles an hour and go up there and hit a game-winning homer.
Not even hitting home runs. He's hitting 450 home runs on 99 miles an hour fastballs that are at his eyes.
And like he can run too. He can steal bases. It's not something he does a lot, but he's just a phenomenal athlete. Did you see the photo of him shirtless the other day in the interview?
Right.
Like,
yeah,
he's jacked. He's a specimen, and I think it's a great thing for baseball. And I hope he can be a little more healthy and consistent on the mound, because he hasn't fully shown that yet to be, his stuff is great. He's got awesome stuff. His control's a little, leaves you want more. And he only pitches every 10 days. He's not on a normal pitching rotation. And I think, playing in the field or DHing every day plays a factor into that. But when you're doing stuff that hasn't been done since Babe Ruth, you're doing something right.
Yeah. I mean, what I hope from this, and I'm still not, totally on the Ohtani train. Let's not get crazy. It's very hard for me to admit when I'm wrong. I don't know if you know this about me, Scott. It's very difficult for me to do that. So I'm not totally there yet, but I will say this. I really hope Ohtani turns into a little bit more of a trailblazer in Major League Baseball, and especially at the youth level, because we talked about a couple minutes ago how, kids are they get inspired by what they see from the professionals. They're very influenced by what they see on TV from Acuñas and Trouts. I would love to see Ohtani lead to more two-way baseball players. I think that would be so awesome for baseball. Like Ohtani shouldn't be the last of his kind. We should be able, in both internationally and here in America, we should be able to develop kids that could pitch and hit at the same time. I think that can open up a bunch of different entertaining possibilities for the future of the game. So I hope that, little kids are watching Ohtani and they're like, you know what? I don't want to just focus on pitching, or I don't want to just focus on hitting. I want to do both. And I hope that leads to more two-way talents for baseball, 10, 20 years down the road.
Yeah, it's kind of become like a trend recently. Like, I mean, I didn't really experience it until late in high school and once we got into college, of people just being a pitcher and being a PO. Like, that was kind of a foreign concept to me when I started meeting people. They're like, "Oh yeah, I'm just a pitcher." It's like, I mean, I was never a pitcher, so like I only ever hit. But like that was more normal. Just like the thought process of saying I want to play baseball, but I only want to be a pitcher was kind of an odd concept to me.
It's basically saying I just want to play baseball once a week.
Yeah. And, the fact that, Ohtani can do it at the major league level is awesome and it's great. It's hard. And, I'm sure it takes a lot of, effort and energy out of him, but he seems like a guy that can do it. He obviously enjoys doing it. And is excelling. And I do hope that there's some more guys that start doing it. Like Brendan McKay on the Rays, he's mainly a pitcher now for them, but like when he was at Louisville, he was a stud first baseman and absolutely raked. Like you would think that the Rays would be an organization that would like try and do that and capitalize on it. So it's kind of odd that they kind of, made him just into a pitcher. The Reds had a kid. They have a kid in Hunter Green, who's in the minors still, who was second overall pick, I believe, who was, touted to be another two-way guy who's mainly pitching now. But yeah, why shouldn't people want to do this? Why wouldn't you want to be a two-way player and be a star like Ohtani is?
I mean, even if you're not at the major league level in terms of talent, being versatile in baseball, pitching, hitting, that's going to get you much more opportunities, whether you want to play college at the Division I level or the JUCO level, from JUCO to D1, or even high school. Like, the more positions, the more things you can do, the more chances you're going to receive as a young athlete. And I think Ohtani is a perfect example of that because, when he was hurt, normally you just be shut down, you're done. When he was hurt the last couple of years, he was still doing that other half that he could do. Like, wasn't he could still DH when his arm was busted for a little bit. So I think that when I have a son in the future, maybe if I have a son in the future, whatever, I might have a daughter, who knows? But if I have a son that plays baseball in the future, I would definitely not only just be both pitching and hitting, but I think this could be a more broad conversation. This is just a baseball podcast, but it could be more broad conversation in another context of playing multiple sports and not just designated yourself to one activity. That's always been something I've been, kind of passionate about. It's just do more than one thing. I just play baseball because baseball is the only sport I like to play. But if you can do other things and you like to do other things, do it. You shouldn't specialize yourself as a young person to one thing. I think that's wrong. And I think Ohtani is a perfect example of someone who has broken that mold. And I think he's a good role model for young athletes growing up.
Yeah, I would agree. I was a multi-sport athlete, and that's kind of the trend. Like, people want to see that. It shows that you can do multiple things and you have different skill sets. If you don't want to be Shohei Ohtani, I think you're kind of crazy. I would want to be Shohei Ohtani if I could.
I would
right
have
now.
no problem being Shohei Ohtani right now.
Let me go up there, throw 102 miles an hour, and hit 450-foot homers because it's awesome. He's going to have a lot on his shoulders now with Trout being out for about 2 months, and it's going to be hard. But I think he can do it. I think he can keep this going, and he's going to be an all-star. And
he's going to be in the MVP race.
Yeah, if he can pitch a little bit better and more consistently, like he's going to be an MVP candidate, and it's going to be hard to not vote for him, even if they suck.
He has the upper hand on everyone else because he does both. And who knows? He can get a Cy Young and an MVP and a Silver Slugger and a Gold Glove all in the same year. Isn't
That would be that would be
stupid?
insane. That would
It's
be insane.
but it's possible. That's the scary thing.
Yeah, that is the thing because he can do it all, and I'd love to see it because it would be great for baseball and like it'd be a great thing for them to market and
to circle back, again, he continues to be healthy and has the success that we're talking about him potentially could have. JJ Watt and Kevin Durant, they're going to keep talking about him. And those are very influential people, not only in their, cliques and their niches in terms of basketball and football, but like really the world. A lot of people love, like, those athletes are more worldwide than baseball players are. So you have those guys talking about an international baseball player. That's a perfect storm of PR for baseball.
yeah, absolutely. And he keeps this going. I mean, put him on the cover of MLB The Show too. Like that.
Oh my god, I think that's a lock by now. If as long as he finishes this year healthy, I think it's a lock. He's the cover of the show.
Yeah, he's got to be. And just we've harped on it 1,000 times. It just Major League Baseball needs to do more to get their game out there, get their players out there, get them more well known. And they have a huge opportunity with a guy like Otani because baseball is huge in Japan. It's huge in Southeast Asia. Like keep expanding that game and keep letting it grow. Because you know what? It's going to make them more money. And at the end of the day,
the game.
That's what Major League Baseball cares about is the money that comes in from their players.
And one last little point, I get my little dig in, not on Otani personally, but like I've talked about this with Trout. We were going to do this mini podcast. We're not going to talk about anything specifically in terms of team. The Angels need to fucking win. Like I can't stand this anymore. Like it's ridiculous. We talk about it every single year, even with Otani and Trout and Rendon, and they got rid of Pujols, but he's a Dodger now. They still can't win. And what would be more what would be better for baseball than Otani and Trout in October? The answer of that is nothing. Nothing would be better for baseball than Otani and Trout in the playoffs. But it doesn't look like it's happening this year, unless they make a huge miraculous comeback. But I digress. Let's talk about something that is kind of upsetting to talk about and nonsensical and stupid, and it pissed all of us off. So the White Sox nonsense. I just want to say, I want to put it out there that I said this the moment La Russa got hired. I said, this is not a good idea. He's 76 years old. He's out of touch with the millennial Gen Z kind of thing, kind of demographic. This is not going to work. I don't want to talk bad about anybody in our group chat because they're not here, but Tyler disagreed with me and said he was going to be fine. And it looks like, for the most part, I'm right because Tony La Russa completely made himself look like an absolute moron this week. So, quick recap. White Sox, who are, I believe, have the best winning percentage. They do. The best winning percentage in the American League. They're destroying the Minnesota Twins. Minnesota Twins, Scott, are quietly having the worst year ever. Like
they suck.
Terrible.
They're
suck. Horrible. 15-28. So they're destroying the Twins, right? So the Twins bring in a position player to pitch, and breakthrough star for the White Sox, Yermin Mercedes. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
He gets up 3-0 on the Twins pitcher. It's forgetting me at the moment.
Astudillo.
Yeah. And the 3-0, little eephus pitch, Mercedes hits dead center over the wall for a home run. Now, when I saw that, I initially cringed a little bit. I will be honest. I did cringe a little bit because we've been taught growing up that that's not what you do, but we're trying to recalibrate our minds to say, no, that's fair game. And I did end up agreeing that that is fair game. But at the end of the game, or I think the next day, whatever La Russa had his next press conference availability, he threw his own player under the bus, calling him clueless, saying all these things about how, the unwritten rules and blah, 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 and how that's not how you play and how he's going to have to be disciplined within his own family. And then next game, he gets thrown at. La Russa's like, I don't have a problem with that. So he's basically doesn't have a problem with his own guy potentially getting hurt. It's just, and Lance Lynn gets involved, says, listen, I'm on Mercedes' side. La Russa says he has a locker, I have an office, so I'm more important. But like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was just all a bunch of nonsense by Tony La Russa. This is something that could really disrupt a locker room that is really taken off a little bit in the AL Central, up 2.5 games, best record in the American League. This is not good. This is really not good.
Yeah, this is bad, and this is bad for baseball. And you're right, Tony La Russa is not going to pan out in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. I mean, their record's fantastic, but how much of that is actually La Russa at this point?
Yeah, because he's even made like managerial mistakes with.
He didn't know the extra inning rule.
Yeah,
so he knows the unwritten rule, but he doesn't know the extra inning rule that when there's a runner on second, the pitcher doesn't need to run; they can pinch run.
Yeah, and
what rule is more important to care about at this point?
Yeah, and they lost that game because of that. And yes, he's a Hall of Famer. He had a great career, but he was out of baseball for managing for what, 10, 12 years? Like,
that Cardinals championship was the end.
It had been a while. And you know what? If they'd handled it in-house and nothing was said, you know what? That's fine.
That happens all the time.
Yes. But the fact that he sat down there in his press conference and threw a player who has carried this team offensively under the bus is terrible. And, you know, Lance Lynn stood up for him. Tim Anderson stood up for him. Like, Tim Anderson's a great player, and he's one of the leaders of that team, and he's a very emotional guy. He you know, shows, you know, it on the field. He bat flips. He has fun. Like, what do you think La Russa thinks about that? Like, I'm sure he doesn't love it. Like, if things go south for the White Sox and they fizzle out in the postseason, like, I think you got to, like, players are probably going to,
you got to get a younger guy in there.
Yeah. You're going to turn on them. And
I don't think they do it because the White Sox owner, he's the same owner of
Yeah,
the Bulls, right?
that's the issue.
He's a very loyal guy. Like, he didn't fire Krause. Remember the Last Dance thing? They all hated him. Krause kept him, or the owner kept Krause. So it's going to be the same thing here. But, you know, if I'm the White Sox owner and I'm seeing all this, I'm having meetings with my star players behind La Russa's back, and I'm going to make a decision whether or not he's the best guy to lead this young, talented White Sox team. And I would probably let him go. I know that sounds extreme, but you can't lose the locker room like this. You can't throw your own player under the bus to the media, and you can't defend the opponent for attempting to injure your guy.
Yeah.
That's common sense. That's really fucking stupid of La Russa to do. Sorry for cursing, but oh my God, how can you do that?
Yeah, like, he set him up for, like, it seemed like the Twins, like, were kind of okay with it. Like, they understood that they were getting their asses beat.
Like, he was trying to distance himself from his own team in the press conference, saying, well, I stood up after the home run as he was rounding the bases, and I was staring at him, and I called the Twins after the game, and I apologized for his behavior. Shut the fuck up. What the hell is that? That's garbage, man. That is terrible leadership. That's terrible managing. And I don't care if he's in the Hall of Fame. Good for him for being a successful manager 20, 30 years ago. From 20, 30 years ago. There's a reason why we're hiring younger managers now. There's a reason why Aaron Boone's the Yankees manager and Joe Girardi isn't the Yankees manager. It's because the idea is that you got to coddle, for good or bad, you have to coddle the younger millennial Gen Z kind of athlete because that's how they've been brought up. And, you know, we saw it with Girardi. He got into it with Gene Segura. So there is something to matching your manager with the age of your roster and making sure that they can coexist as a unit and a team. You don't need to get along with every single player as a manager, but you have to be able to have a professional relationship. And this La Russa issue seems the furthest thing from that, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just not a match. CC Sabathia, you know, said it on their podcast, you know, with him and Ryan Rucco. You know, he doesn't fit. He doesn't understand the game, and what he did was wrong. And, you know, if the Twins had a problem with it, they shouldn't have put Williams Astudillo on the mound, and, you know, they should have put a pitcher out there.
They shouldn't have been losing by that.
You shouldn't be getting your butts kicked like that. Like,
you know, we talk about Bauer a lot. Bauer's a very, like, controversial figure not only in our group chat and our podcast, but just in the baseball community in general. He said, if you swing 3-0 and hit a home run, good. I should have made a better pitch, and the pitchers should be better. And if the pitchers are better, you don't put your own position player out to dry by having to put him on the mound. So it's the Twins' fault for doing. It's the Twins' fault for this position to be what's happening in the first place. But LaRussa can't. LaRussa can't go that far. I mean, he said that he put a take sign, and that Yerman Mercedes either ignored the take sign or missed it. That happens. I know in my day, I've missed a million signs from my third base coach, but I'm not publicly bashed for it. That's something that you call him into the office in post game and say, "Hey, don't do that again."
Yeah, it was dumb. It was stupid.
It's upsetting that I don't want to talk about this, but that's what had to happen because it's just that absurd. But a lot of people, including myself, kind of knew that this was a possibility when they hired him. It was a very surprising hire. I didn't like it for a bunch of reasons. And this is one of them, and it came true. So we'll see the resiliency of the White Sox. They took the series from the Twins. They now play the Yankees this weekend. That's a very interesting series because both are, supposed to do big things. I think we all had them as our ALCS kind of matchup. So that can be a preview of the ALCS. So we'll see the resiliency of the team. We'll see if the locker room, comes together from it or if they break apart. And if they break apart and they go 3-7 in their next 10, maybe, it's still early enough at that point to maybe make a change. And I wonder if the players kind of march into the owner's office at that point, if it were to happen, and say, hey, we need a change of scenery from, this guy who just doesn't fit in. Because that's important for a manager in this kind of, you need to fit in with your guys. You don't need to go out with them after the game to a bar and get a drink with all of them, but you need to have some sort of relationship with them, in my opinion. The best teams I feel that I've been on, we've all liked each other and we've liked our coaches and we've all been friends. I know it's different with a little league team where dads are coaches and, Major League Baseball, but it's still kind of the same. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It just doesn't seem like a fit. And that's a good young team that plays with a lot of energy, and to have someone that kind of sucks that out of you,
and even, you know what? Even if he was someone who meshed with them, he's 76 years old. How long is he going to be doing that? They should have got someone the Yankees got Boone, and then 10 years ago they got Girardi, younger guys Girardi was young at the time, that would kind of progress with that roster over time. Girardi was the Yankees manager for 10 years. Cashman has been on record and said that he wants Boone to be the Yankees manager for 10 years. That's how you kind of build something.
Yeah.
Not a placeholder manager who's 76 years old and will probably be out in 2 or 3 years anyway. When you have if you had a veteran team that needed to win now, I get it. But if you have this young team like the White Sox are, you should have brought in a manager that can grow with the roster and not just be this old guy. But, I digress. Let's do one more little thing. I'm very excited about the Jeter documentary.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun. One caveat though, I should say. If this is, Derek Jeter has his hands all over it and kind of this is a Derek Jeter propaganda kind of vehicle, then it's going to be very boring. And it's going to be nothing that I, as a Yankee fan and a Derek Jeter fan my whole life, has not heard before. If this is something like The Last Dance, it's the same producers, right?
Yep.
If it's something like The Last Dance and I get to see kind of behind the scenes and maybe not a hit piece on Derek, but let me in a little bit more on what was going on behind the scenes. Give me more about the A-Rod relationship. Give me more about, the George Steinbrenner dynamic of everything. I don't know, Jeter's nightlife. He had a very rich dating history. Give me a little dirt on Derek. I love Derek. I will defend him until I die. The people who say he's overrated, I fight with all the time, and I will never, ever stop fighting for him. But give me a little bit more than the angel persona I've been fed for 20 years. I mean, if that's what it is, I'll still watch it and I'll still love it, but I would just love to see a little bit more, because when we saw The Last Dance, there was a lot of, the best part of The Last Dance, I don't know if you agree with me, was that the ending of that one episode where they talked about, people thinking that Michael was not a nice guy and kind of a tyrant. Remember the ending of that
Yeah.
episode? It was awesome. I love that. I would like to see, maybe not to that extent, because I don't think Derek was that kind of guy that Michael was, but give me a little bit of the dark side of Derek Jeter in this documentary. That's all I want.
Yeah, a little substance, a little,
Mhm.
something that you don't know, because Jeter, he was a star, but like
He was boring.
he was quiet. You didn't hear
So
a
when they
lot
said
from him.
6 parts, I was like, really?
Yeah, they must have been working on this for a while, or they
Mhm.
got a lot of information, and I am excited about it because not as a growing up a Yankee fan, like my best friend growing up was a huge Yankee fan, loved Jeter, like so like I heard about him, I knew him, like I didn't it's not my favorite player, but so it'll be nice to see that side and learn even more about him, because he's a great player. He is great. First and foremost, he's a winner, and
Mhm.
that's what matters the most to me. Is can you help your team win? And he did that from the day he got there, and he did that until the day he left, and
Yeah.
he's starting to build that in Miami too, because they
Mhm.
beat the Phillies ass again tonight.
Mhm.
Um,
Happens.
he, guy's just a winner, and that's what should matter. And I am excited for it, and should be good.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be fun. I mean, there's a lot of people now. We're getting old. I don't think we realize how old we are. So like the 14, 15-year-old kid probably doesn't remember watching Derek Jeter play the way I remember watching Derek Jeter play. So he's been retired for 6 years now. So I think this could be a little bit of a kind of like a documentary just to kind of put a ribbon on everything. He gets inducted into the Hall of Fame in July. So maybe they just make this so there's a one-stop shop for people to get their Derek Jeter kind of lecture or crash college course on Derek Jeter's career, maybe kind of like how Michael Jordan was, because I didn't watch Michael Jordan play, I was too young. But someone who watched Derek for a long time, I would like to see something. I would like to learn something that I don't already know. So that's my challenge to this documentary, is to teach me something, because I think, I'm kind of stubborn in this. I think I know everything about Derek Jeter. So prove me wrong. Tell me something I don't know. And then I'm sure it's going to be great either way. But, that was kind of that's my 2 cents on this documentary.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Should be good.
Yeah, should be good. So we got the no-hitters done. We got the La Russa, we got the Ohtani, we got the Derek. Is there anything else that happened in the last couple of weeks in Major League Baseball that you would like to touch upon before we wrap up this episode?
I think we hit the hot stuff. What was important with going on, all the no hitters, Otani's greatness. I think we got it. Hopefully, we'll be back.
Yeah, hopefully we get
full crew.
everybody in. It's hard.
Jobs suck.
All
people
4 of us
don't.
have jobs. There was one point, I think you are always working.
I was the only. Yeah, I was the only one working at one
like
point.
this time last year when we were doing it, like all the 75% of the podcast was unemployed, and this is the only thing we looked forward to every single week. And now, all 4 of us have jobs, and it's tougher, but we will figure it out like we always do.
Yes.
But we will be back hopefully with Tyler and Cash and the crew sometime next week. Until then, enjoy all the no-hitters that happen from now until then. And for Scott Roswell, my name is Glen and Scott. Thank you for listening to Base Hit Ball 4, and we will see you next time.